It's looking increasingly likely that there could be another lockdown, or at the very least, increased restrictions. The Prime Minister is reportedly weighing up 3 plans. So, advising against household mixing, limiting mixing, social distancing and issuing a hospitality curfew, or even declaring a full lockdown. So these decisions will be made based on modelling, projections and predictions provided by Sage. But there was a really fascinating exchange on Twitter yesterday between Fraser Nelson of The Spectator and Graham Medley, the chair of the Sage Modelling Committee and a professor at London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Now, it was fascinating, but it was also really quite terrifying. London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine last weekend published a study on Omicron that was so pessimistic and gloomy that, ironically, it should have come with a health warning. Talk of 75,000 deaths, 500,000 hospitalisations. But JP Morgan then had a close look at this study and spotted something really, really big. These models all assume that Omicron is as deadly as Delta, which flies in the face, really, of what we currently know and based on what's coming out of South Africa at the moment. It found that if you adjust the modelling to account for that, then bed occupancy by COVID-19 patients at the end of January would be 33% of the peak seen in January 2021. And that, get this would be manageable without further restrictions. Manageable with no need for further restrictions. When pressed on why this hadn't been done, it was revealed by Professor Medley that essentially they only modelled bad outcomes that require restrictions, but not just as likely outcomes that would not require restrictions. And that brief may have been given to them by government. So, just to kind of crystallise all this, this implies a few things. A huge negativity bias within Sage, science blindly following instructions, but worse, potentially worse, the implication that this government is only keen on hearing worst-case scenarios and presenting them to the public. It's like they're looking for an excuse to impose restrictions in a lockdown. And there seems to be a big sense now that enough is enough. In fact, that's exactly what Steve Baker MP said when he booted Nadine Dorries out of a Tory WhatsApp group. I believe we can have a look at this now, actually. Let's take a look at this WhatsApp exchange. There you go. So there's the picture there. And you can see Steve Baker there saying, enough is enough, after he's booted her out. But anyway, but the people are also saying, aren't they, enough is enough. So, that's quite enough, that picture, there we go. Despite what's been reported, tens of thousands of people took to the streets of London, Bournemouth, Blackburn, Gloucestershire, Bristol, Glasgow, Cardiff, Belfast, and of course, lest we forget, the Isle of Wight over the weekend to protest. Now, this was not an anti-vax protest, as has been reported. There may have been anti-vaxxers there, I'm sure there were. But these demonstrations were more of a freedom march, really. Anti-restriction, yep. Anti-vaccine passport, yep. Anti-lockdown, definitely. Anti-tyranny. Well, not just exclusively anti-vax. Demonstrators also gathered outside Manchester City's Etihad Stadium to protest against vaccine safety and COVID-19 passes. It's pretty simple, isn't it, I think? It's starting to look as though this government is only considering worst-case scenarios. Our scientific community may be blindly modelling that for them. The vast majority of the media demonises anyone who speaks out against this as some kind of anti-vaxxer. But it's becoming increasingly obvious, I think, that this government had little to no regard for the rules that it was imposing on us. Here's that infamous picture now, I believe, of Boris Johnson and co. at a cheese and wine-infused business gathering. There we go. It's good, obviously, The Guardian have published that. It's not a great look, is it? Let's be perfectly honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a great look at all. Now, it's looking increasingly likely that this government has no moral authority, really, to impose additional restrictions upon us now, and that the science used to justify those restrictions is potentially quite blinkered, and that the public and political will to comply is now at an all-time low.